the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Well, welcome to Bitcoin Live with the bigger picture. We got a lot of things to discuss today, but let's start with Oppenheimer because you just told me that you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
What was your impression of the movie?
It's very good because Christopher Nolan have this talent. He can take any subject and make it look good. It's a very boring subject to me because I was very hesitant to watch it. I was like, yeah, why I want to watch a story about a guy who just built the bomb. Like scientists are not that interesting. Their lives are so boring. But the way Christopher Nolan portrayed it in the movie is amazing. Like it's a very long movie. It's like 3 hours. But I wasn't bored for a second because everything was placed perfectly from music to the scenes to the cinematography, dialogues. It was amazing.
And for us who study the UAP topic, we kind of know that the atomic secret has a lot to do with the secrets around UAPs and UFOs.
Yeah.
David Grusch revealed a lot about that, and many other researchers. Are they discussing any of that in the movie? Is there any suggestion?
No, no.
Okay, yeah. Well, today we opened with Oppenheimer because of secrecy, which is atomic secret, which has to do with UAPs, but also the dangerous or possibly dangerous sort of power that comes along with this sort of hidden technology, and
Yeah.
also the benefits.
One thing they didn't discuss it in the movie because this is stories before 1947. Oppenheimer built that bomb in what 1940 early 1940s, and UFO phenomena like started to emerge after 1947 crash in Roswell. So before that, I don't think anybody even cared about UFOs. They used to be called Foo Fighters in World War II, but
Well,
nobody cared about them.
well, that's not entirely true because if you follow David Grush closely, you also know that America actually sent a UFO retrieval team to Rome in
Yeah.
order to collect sort of.
Yeah, but it was very secret. I don't think they would have involved Oppenheimer's team because they were the greatest mind in the world at that. Actually, to this day now, they have Feynman in there. They had like Teller. Teller was an asshole. I didn't know until I watched the movie. But Teller's name is very famous as a mathematician. And then Niels
Well,
Bohr. I literally watched this movie not because of Oppenheimer, but I'm a very big fan of Feynman, Niels Bohr, these guys. So and I know they were there, and Einstein is there as well, and I really love those guys. So I was like, I want to see how they portrayed them. It was amazing.
yeah, no, that's definitely true. But for example, Jacques Vallée, he's also very much into he maybe gave birth to the UAP field. He was connected to Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
He did many important things for the research in UAPs.
Hmm.
But he actually brought out a new book called Trinity. It turns out that there were also UFO retrievals before 1947.
Yeah.
One was in Trinity, which was close to where they sort of tested the atomic bomb.
Test, but the test name was Trinity. The
True.
atomic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it was
It's
not
weird.
like
Yeah.
in the area, but sort of close to the area.
Hmm.
And but they thought it might the atomic researchers at the time thought it might have been connected to what they were doing. So they sent sort of a retrieval team, and then they found out it was a UAP, which was like, around the time that they did sort of the atomic test. And maybe it even sort of was the reason that the UAP crashed in the first place. But so we got a lot of stuff to discuss, actually, way too much as usual. And we also got some really cool new intros and outros. Actually, I'm saving the intro as an outro, so you will see it at the end of the show. I want to thank Matty Sets for creating those things, because they're really awesome. I'm going to show you one right now as we segue into the next topic. So that's super cool, right?
Yeah, it is cool, yeah.
We also have a different background, so maybe I'm going to play around with that too. So thank you, Matty, for creating these awesome intros and segues, and we're going to have fun using them. We got a couple of those. But we're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about pyramids. We're going to talk about UAPs. We're going to talk about everything. We talked about the Primordial Code before, and I actually want to return to that movie because it's actually recently I saw it again. It's from Marijn Poels. He's a Dutch documentary maker, and he made this really awesome documentary, which I recommend everybody to watch right after this show. It's 2 hours well spent, and even if you just watch 1 hour, it is also well spent. But it sort of segues into sort of the technology and life issue that I want to discuss, and also sort of the suppression of information and technology, which is sort of at the center of all this. So I'm going to start with this one right here. I have to see if I got the sound. Oh, okay.
Looking at these stone circle ruins. It's only when I saw it from the air and I saw the density of the ruins, how interconnected it is, that it's not just stone circles lying around randomly, that it's stone circles that are connected to each other by these channels that look like pathways, and then mountaintops that are covered in these terraces that are interlaced with stone circles and channels linking the stone circles together. Before I realized, I counted more than 10 million of these stone circle ruins. So we do know that the stone circles generate energy. They are frequency generating devices. And this is why each stone circle is a certain shape. No two stone circles are the same. Each one is completely unique. And they're all connected together because each stone circle generates a huge amount of sound frequencies, magnetic fields, and electromagnetic fields. So the sound frequencies come out of the ground, and the shape of the stone circle is determined by the sound frequency that comes out of the ground. It's called cymatics, the cymatic pattern.
Ja, dit is eigenlijk een apparaatje dat een trilling creëert op de plaat, zeg maar.
Ah ja, dus we creëren eigenlijk het aardoppervlak, maar dan in het heel erg mini.
Ja, zo met het zand erop en het zout. Alright, 916 hertz, daar gaan we.
Wow.
Is 1224 hertz. 1228 hertz. Daar gaan ze weer.
Cool.
Etc. Well, it turns out that some of these sort of clusters that they found in the south of Africa are sort of the same shape as in a microwave, and that they're actually sort of giant microwave beams that you can sort of measure. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is something that Ashton Forbes is doing a lot of research in, which is scalar energy or scalar electricity. Now, I'm not a physicist, and I'm way out of my depth, but we did sort of collect some really cool research. And Ashton Forbes has done a couple of interviews called Hard Talk, where he sort of talks about these sort of with scalar physicists about these topics. which are extremely interesting. So if you're like interested in physics or science in general, and you have like an open mind and you're curious about these kind of issues, I recommend to check the links that we'll post down below, or just follow Ashton Forbes on Twitter, because he sort of keeps you up to date on this stuff. So what is your take on scalar physics?
Okay, first about these clips. The frequency, one thing I notice, the cluster they are making out of dust, you find these kind of clusters, like these shapes, made of stars in the space. If you
Mhm.
look from far away, they also form something similar. So it's weird that you find same thing when you go to this atomic structure of anything. You will find some weird patterns, and same patterns I saw on my psychedelic trip. So there is something to it. And what I think about our current science today, that we are very limited, like we are in the box. All the scientists have to stay in the box and follow the rules which were set by the people 100 years ago. The moment you try to divert yourself from those principles, you start, like, people start calling you a kook, and they don't let you go out. And I think that's a very bad approach towards the future, because if we want to innovate something new, we need crazy ideas.
Mhm.
All the sciences we know right now were crazy ideas back in the day, but at that time those guys went into it, created whatever they wanted to create. But now suddenly you are in this world where if you are looking into metaphysics, you are being called a stupid person, whatever. Like, every derogatory term is being used for you, and then they are not funding your projects or whatever. I think that's a very bad approach.
And do you
And
think that's by accident, or do you think there's on purpose?
I think by accident, because it's not like the government is doing it. If government is involved, like, because I think it's both. Because on certain things, government is not letting you do it, but on the other hand, it's your fellow scientist
Yeah.
who just start saying stupid shit about you for no reason. Because the thing is, there is a big jealousy in the scientific world. They don't, like, if a scientist is here and he sees someone else doing something new, he is jealous and he don't want you to divert from his views, and then they start attacking you. Forget
Yeah.
about metaphysics, they were doing it for and
It's
the
a
big, like, yeah.
sort of envy, is it, like that you? It's not only that you're jealous, but you're actually wanting to destroy the other person for going that way.
Yeah, yeah, they are trying to be good boys, that they don't want to go away from the rule book they have set for the science. And then the moment you start doing that, they start making fun of you. They are making fun of string theory to this day. If, like, there are very few scientists I really admire. One of them is Brian Greene, and he's like a very prominent string theorist. I saw some of his interview where another scientist, like a college professor or whatever, he was making fun of him during the interview, because it's like an old interview, and then they were just attacking him for being for string theory, because it's against the rules which were set by Einstein. And he was always saying, like, you are going against Einstein. He said, like, this is science, you need to explore different ideas. And
No,
yeah, this is the problem.
yeah, and I think you're right. So I think it's a combination of both, right? It's ridicule and envy sometimes, and thinking outside of the box is always kind of scary for other people. You
Hmm.
often sort of also notice it, like on a personal level, when you talk about topics that are fringe with people. Then some people get very upset with you just talking about it, right? Because it sort of upsets them at a metaphysical level, or at a sort of their ontological
Yeah,
realities gets disturbed, and they think like you're a total weirdo and you're kind of dangerous by exposing those kind of ideas.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So that's true. but there's also this sort of suppression element, I think, because
There is, yeah.
yeah, because we know it already from the media. Of course, the mainstream media is extremely, what they call in Dutch, it's called gelijkgeschakeld. So all the media say exactly the same thing. They have exactly the same talking points.
Yeah.
At least the mainstream media, and then there's some small outlets that sort of deviate because they cannot repress everyone. But it's really strange that the mainstream media has all the same outlook on things. Like that's
Yeah.
not normal. That's abnormal. That's impossible. Like if it, it has to be, it has been. There has to be sort of a plan behind that.
Yeah.
And I think the way that they do that, if you follow sort of different kind of people like Veritas, and there's many other people who are sort of trying to expose these issues. It is that they plant certain people on certain positions to steer people in a certain direction, right? And I
Yeah.
think they do the same thing in academia by taking sort of important posts like deans and those kind of things and sort of setting the agenda for academia, and probably also motivating people to ridicule others for following a certain route, or just kicking them out if they fall out of line too much.
Yeah.
So that's my personal opinion, right? I can't prove any of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's finally comes out and that academia has been.
Well, I don't think we can even prove anything because there are different bodies at work. Like I discuss about the scientists, then there is like a government which we know who is doing their own stuff, and then there is like a secret government, which is like you go in the very dark shadows of conspiracy theories. But I believe there is something to it, that there is like a secret government which is controlling everything in the world, not just US. It's just like a secret government of the world. You
Yeah,
can call it a cabal.
I think I always say there's like two kinds of government. Like it's the government that we know, which is very inefficient. It's very sort of we can it's sort of elected and they sort of represent us up to a point, but they're also very clunky and clumsy and uh, and and sort of transparent, and public, of course. So, but there's also a government that's the exact opposite. It's very small. It's very efficient. It's very not public. It's hidden, and it's totally not elected, not accountable. And I think you're right. That government is actually,
Yeah.
using the other government that we think we know as a sort of smokescreen to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. And this is like an open secret that President of United States does not have clearance to everything. Like you cannot go at the higher position than
Yeah.
president, but we know I think there are 37 levels of clearance after the which like that the president does not have, and it's like military personnel or some secret people who have that kind of clearance. So there is like, this is not even a secret, it's an open secret.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There's this really cool interview with Jacques Vallée where he sort of goes through all the levels of clearance that there are. I think I got it here somewhere. No, I
Isn't it weird that president of the country who is like commander in chief does not have clearance? Like if he doesn't, then who will, right? This is crazy.
Yeah, no, I can't find it. Yeah, I think you have like confidential, and then you have non-foreign access, and then you have secret and top secret, and then above top secret, and then there's levels above top secret,
Yeah.
and then you have the atomic secret, which has like clearances of P, Q, and R,
Yeah.
and I think you also have the foreign sections of the foreign office. The Office of Foreign Affairs, they have, of course, another cluster of secrets, and they are also sort of compartmentalized also. But it's really strange, like you said, it's really strange that the president of the United States doesn't have access to all the secret files, or at least get a briefing on all of it. It's
Yeah.
really strange.
And then we are not even discussing black ops, right? Black budget projects. where the money is going and nobody knows
The
what they are.
Lockheed Martins and
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think there are more than that. There's more than that. It's just like we are focusing on one thing, weapon manufacturing companies, but there are something else. We don't know what they are. But it's not just Lockheed Martin or Boeing. There is more than that.
Yeah, I agree with that. But and you know, there's some people who say it's sort of like a fight club mentality, where you
Yeah.
never talk about Fight Club and everybody, does his own thing, and nobody knows what the other person is doing, and they don't trust each other or
Hmm.
recognize each other. But I think what you're saying is also right. I think there's like a somebody behind all of it that is, that does have an overview of what's going on. And this was kind of sort of big news. Donald Trump, he said that he might start working with Robert Bigelow, who pledged
Yeah.
20 billion to his presidential campaign.
I
And
saw that too.
yeah, and that's really cool, because if you sort of follow the UFO field, you know that Bigelow, Robert Bigelow, he's like very big into UAPs, and he has done a lot of work with NITS and BAS, and his own aerospace company, to sort of find out about not only UAPs but also is there life after death.
The
Uh,
problem with Bigelow is like he's a superstitious billionaire. So he believe in everything, like from psychics to like ghost, or like he was on Joe Rogan's podcast and he was saying that he was talking to his dead wife through a medium. Okay, I know there is something more than life, but you cannot channel your dead wife through a psychic, because that's a hoax. We know that like psychics play games to the people, to especially to the rich people, but there is like limit to sanity, and then you go to believing in everything. And I am not that kind of a person. That I have seen so much scam in this world through spirituality that I don't believe everything. I only go what I think is possible, and I don't
how
think believing in psychic is something.
True, true, true. No, I totally agree, and it's very important to have like a skeptical mindset, because there's a lot of garbage and scams, and it's just like crypto, right?
Yeah.
And the rabbit hole goes very deep. So once you go into one rabbit hole, it sort of connects to a ton of others. But I can recommend you, and it's probably something that we're going to talk about in the future, is Surviving Death, which is an awesome documentary on Netflix.
Hmm.
And especially the last episode about reincarnation is, will blow your mind. Um, but yeah, I mean, I agree with what you say, but I also know that for Bigelow was at Skinwalker. He was like the first one who,
First owner of Skinwalker. No,
yeah,
second owner, I guess. He
yeah,
bought it from the original person and then he sold it to a new guy.
true, true, true. Yeah, and he did that for the government, right? So the first operation on Skinwalker was funded by one of those government-funded schemes. So it was what was the Democratic Senator Reid, I think.
Senator Reid, yeah.
Yeah, so that's also a real topic in itself, right? To sort of go through that. But the Bigelow faction, which is connected to Reid and also to Louis Elizondo, and basically all these whistleblowers that have come out there are all part of the same faction.
Yeah.
And one of the interesting things with Bigelow, and I'm getting totally off track here, but during the pandemic, his company was chosen as non-essential and shut down.
Hmm.
And I personally think that that was a clear sign that there's this struggle between these big tech companies or aerospace companies in this case,
Yeah.
to take him out, because he's probably exposing too much of the stuff that they're actually working on. And I think he was singled out in his company and his connection to Harry Reid, to sort of take out that faction that was sort of trying to expose this. And now they're going through social media and doing the stuff that we're basically also doing, getting this information out there to the public and creating a stampede or a
Yeah.
public outrage about it, and to Congress in order to expose these kind of things. But getting back to Scalar, so I found this really cool video for the people who want to know more about it, which kind of explains it pretty well, I think.
The postulate says that the gravitational potential arises when there is a divergence in the magnetic vector potential, and when the electric scalar potential changes with time in a curl-free way. Let's break those down. So normally, as we discussed, the magnetic vector potential curls into a magnetic force field. But when it doesn't curl, and instead diverges or converges, that's what scalar physics says produces a gravitational potential. Divergence of the magnetic vector potential is key. Divergence is a math term meaning that there is some kind of expansion or compression in the field. In other words, the field vectors point away from or towards a common center. And that's the opposite of curl, which involves the field circulating around something rather than converging or diverging from it. As for the electric scalar potential, that can also create a gravitational potential under certain conditions. Normally, as explained, the electric scalar potential has a gradient that forms an electric force field. And if this electric field changes over time, then according to Maxwell's famous equations, you get a curling magnetic vector potential that produces a magnetic field. But what if the curl of the magnetic vector potential is suppressed or cancelled out? What if you set things up so that the magnetic vector potential does not produce a magnetic field? A simple example of that for anyone curious would be a spherical capacitor with an oscillating electric field. Then, what you get instead is a changing gravitational potential. So instead of a transverse electromagnetic wave, you would get what's called a longitudinal electrogravitational wave. Transverse means that the field wiggles side to side as it travels, which is what electromagnetism normally does. And longitudinal means that it compresses and expands in the direction of travel, which is what these artificial gravity waves do. I'm talking about things like ball lightning and exotic vacuum objects, the Biefeld-Brown effect, Tesla's wireless energy systems, longitudinal forces in railguns, the exploding wire phenomenon, Stefan Marinov's magnetic ionization device, low-energy nuclear reactions, plasma-based free energy systems. So with that one postulate that the magnetic vector potential and the electric scalar potential can each produce a gravitational potential under the right conditions, you open the door to Star Trek level technology.
Yeah, so I think that's a really nice breakdown for people like me about what we're actually talking about. And that first clip that I showed with those patterns in Africa, and I think you can also sort of connect that to sort of these grain field patterns that are created with UAPs. What's circles, crop circles, that's the term. I think all these kind of things are sort of related because when you sort of watch the whole documentary of the Primordial Code, it turns out that a lot of these sort of buildings, and he also goes into sacred geometry and all that kind of stuff, and much more, that these buildings, for example, have been built in sort of chosen, the locations have been chosen in Neolithic times, and they are positioned on ley lines, and the buildings have a certain geometrical structure, and the structure itself of the buildings also helps with resonations and vibrations and all that kind of stuff, and it's super fascinating because in that documentary, which I also link down below, the Primordial Code, he, for example, builds that pyramid in his garden, right? And the idea behind that pyramid, if you sort of build it the right way, and especially the angles of the pyramid have to be in exact positions. It actually sort of focuses sort of the energy that is all around us, and basically the whole sort of point of the movie or the documentary is to make clear that there is something like ether, which is basically what the scalar energy is telling us, that there's this so energy all around us which is accessible at all times, and could actually lead to abundance, not only in energy-wise, but also in food and all kinds of other stuff that is just around us. And I want to show another clip that sort of feeds into this discussion, which is also from the movie. So check out Marijn Poels' documentary because it's mind-blowing stuff.
Shown back in the 1900s too in Germany, when they used to send balloons up into the air to gather atmospheric energy. They would hang a little wire down, from the balloon, and they would collect that atmospheric energy. The higher you go up, the more energy that you can see. So when you're placing these antennas into your garden, such as a piece of wood and a piece of copper, you're creating coils around that piece of wood, and those coils are harvesting or harnessing the energy that's all around us, Mother Earth's energy. Mother Earth sends out vibrations every single second, right? And what we're doing is we're picking up on those vibrations so that we can elevate our gardens, our plant life, our pollinators, our bees, our birds, and the energy that's all around us. One of the biggest things that I've noticed since people started doing electroculture is they start to have all different types of pollinators come around, all different types of birds, all different types of bees.
Why are we humans need to reconnect the garden with these frequencies? Why nature is not achieving this organically?
What's happening is we're losing a lot of that energy because of all of these towers, the cell phone towers, all of this man-made frequency, right? And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to elevate our gardens and bring back the Earth's frequency and help increase that. Because it's interesting when you look at technology, like the US Navy, right? They use, for example, the Schumann resonance of 7.83 hertz to communicate all across the world, right? So what we're doing is with electroculture is we're tapping into that same Schumann resonance, which is going all around the world, and we're using it to help elevate our garden. A lot of this was lost with the resets of World War I and World War II. A lot of information was lost related to these types of ways because it made us more dependent on the chemical farming instead of using the energy from the earth.
Having enough food for the almost 8 billion people in the world is quite a challenge already. Is it realistic to adequately meet world food demand with electroculture?
1940s Victor Schauberger and all of his work, right? He presented all of this to the Bulgarian government at the time, right? He presented copper tools, he presented copper plows, he presented all types of things derived from copper. He even showed how you can vortex water to structure it, using copper. He showed all of this, and this was all shown. And he determined that when you use copper in the soil, you'd start yielding 2 to 3 times more food. You wouldn't need as much water, right? So your plants don't need as much water. They'll start growing faster. And he noticed like potatoes were 2-3 times the size. He noticed tomatoes were 2-3 times the size.
Well, etc., etc. Well, again, watch this documentary. It's awesome. And basically, Marijn Poels also shows this by doing the experiment himself. So he built a pyramid in his town, in his garden. He has an awesome garden, by the way. And as soon as he started doing that, and of course using fertilizer also, right? It's not just the pyramid, but he shows that in 20 days, the amount of food that he produces is like really mind blowing. Like he also brought it to the study. The interview, he's interviewed at some point, and he brings some of that stuff to the person who's interviewing him. But it's so he actually he goes to those places, he talks to those people, he takes those steps. He's like a researcher, like a real researcher, like he's doing the things himself and he's showing the results. And you can always choose not to believe somebody like that if you don't want to, but you can also try it out yourself, right? See if it works.
Exactly,
So,
because it's not like a religion that you have to believe something. It's
no,
like
you
you
can try
can
it out.
test it out if it's working or not. If it's working, then he's telling the truth. If not, then try more. If you've come to the conclusion that it's not working, then it's not working. It's simple.
True. And I want to give one more clip, and then I'll stop with the movie, because I think I will have proven my point by then.
Let's go.
And that is sort of the Bosnian pyramid. So the Bosnian pyramid is actually one pyramid of a lot of different kind of pyramids, and together they form the constellation of Pleiades, I think it's called, like the Seven Sisters, if I'm not mistaken. So
Pleiades.
so they they correctly match that star sign in the Bosnia. So that's sort of lineup of those pyramids. And they're so they're, but there's something more, because they also did a lot of research and a lot of measurements on all kinds of different levels, from electromagnetic measurements to all the measurements that you can imagine. But one of those measurements resulted in some really interesting findings, and that's what I'm going to show right here.
Of the electrical energy being on top of the Bosnian pyramids, right?
That was 2011 when I came in Visoko and do my measurings and find a very, very strong electric field without magnetic component on the top of the pyramid of 28 kilohertz.
But our regular energy system is based on electromagnetic energy, right? So could you first of all define electromagnetic energy compared to the energy you measured at the Bosnian pyramids?
We have two waves, electric and magnetic waves, and propagate in a four direction. That's a classical electromagnetic wave which has both electric and magnetic fields. But if I find only vibrations of electric field without magnetic component, or vice versa, I can speak about scalar waves. When I find the Tesla verse where he said that he does not use Hertzian waves, that mean electromagnetic waves which we use for communication, for radio, TV, mobile, etc., etc. So that was very interesting for me, because main frequency of his most famous object which he made is Wardenclyffe Tower, and the operational frequency of his workstation was exactly 28 kilohertz. So when we calculate and compare everything of that, what we got was one very interesting form of distribution of energy strength, of voltage amplitude in different points. There we can be absolutely sure that it exists.
So that's so yeah. Again, this documentary is really good, and there's so much more into it, but I can't show the entire documentary.
Exactly.
Nor do I want to. But and what's also interesting about this documentary is that it's completely crowdfunded. So it's it's given free to the public, but it's also created by free people doing the stuff for free. So it's completely sort of like the Earth itself, right? The Earth gives free energy, and it gives everything that we need. So we give it back for free. And that's also basically the Bitcoin life philosophy itself, right? We most of the stuff that we're doing is, basically, just us, our stupid idealism to give back for the people, basically, unpaid, because we believe in the message that we are spreading, and that Bitcoin will actually improve the world. Instead of making it worse. And that's why we do what we do here, providing all this free content for everybody to watch. So I love that message, which is also encapsulated in this documentary. But it also sort of tells a deeper story that, first of all this sort of knowledge is actively suppressed. He gives many examples of that. We already seen a couple of those.
It's about the suppression. The problem again come to the arrogance of the scientists, because this is like 100-year-old discussion among the scientists that either ether exists or not, and then maybe in like 1930s or 40s they decided ether does not exist because they found a better solution through their calculations. Solve the particles, and particle does not need a medium to move, and that's how everything is working. And then they completely disregarded the idea of ether, and it made it like a debunked theory. Now anybody who's tried to follow that ether, no, like all the scientists make fun of it because they said like we already debunked it 80-90 years ago, so why you're following the debunked idea?
Well, that's one theory, but we also know through Ashton Forbes and the research that he did with MH370, and you can sort of believe or not believe what he found, but I think he keeps updating, and I think he has a very compelling story, and it's very, very detailed. And we'll also link it down below. Well, basically, what he shows, or what he thinks he shows to us, is that with this sort of scalar physics, you can basically move, in this case, Boeing or a big plane through different dimensions in order to get it from A to B.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds crazy and insane, but
That's what happened with that mission plane, right?
yeah. That's what we're talking
And
about.
yeah. No, but
Yeah,
I
so
just want to say one thing about ether, that I think there is a chance that ether exists. I believe more on that side because the way things move doesn't make 100% sense. Like, for example, the light is coming as a particle from the sun and it changes shape. I think it's more reasonable to think there is like an ether and light is traveling in the form of wave, and the way we see it. Otherwise we see light everywhere, we won't be able to see anything.
true, and I think also when you sort of look into this story, and then, for example, if you follow Ashton Forbes and he has a YouTube channel, we'll also linked up below, and the hard talks that he does. But basically, what these people are claiming or saying is that this technology is so powerful that you could actually blow up the Earth if you use it in the wrong way. But
Yeah.
it also gives you some sort of Star Trek mind-blowing technologies. And if you put all of that together, plus free energy and abundance are not really economic. You basically want scarcity, and that's Jeff Booth's point, right? With Bitcoin, you create monetary scarcity, and that leads to abundance. But what we now have is like fiat abundance and real scarcity, like but we want it the other way around. But so this clip is also very interesting, but because this person found a tech entrepreneur called Nico, and he says David Grusch inspired him to come forward with information he has received from people throughout his career and who have been involved in studying alien technology for private contractors such as Lockheed Martin. Nico claims they do indeed possess teleportation and interdimensional technology, etc., etc. We'll listen to a little bit of it, if it will play. Let's see if I can get it to work. There we go.
What are they doing?
In a way that we can do, and we'll probably not be able to do that in the next few hundred years. So that's why it's been a big challenge. I've been told about a lot of technologies we've still managed to replicate. I've been told about teleportation, which is not really what people think. It's more like apparently we have a technology to move things from one place to another through different dimensions. We have transdimensional technologies. We have some really advanced medical technologies. We have some mind reading technologies. We have the ability to build clones. Apparently we have really, really advanced technology. So these private contractors have been doing a lot of R&D. Why they don't share that information with the public, I don't fully know. I've been told that they're not allowed to by the beings. I don't know if that's true. As a businessman, I don't fully understand. If you had the ability to monetize these technologies, if you didn't have any restrictions, you would do it.
Yeah, you would do it, right?
No, you won't, because the problem is people think it's about the money, but it's not about the money, it's about the power.
True.
And they control everything. And I'm not talking about like the normal government, I'm talking about the secret government. There is a possible, because as he mentioned that they have that clone technology. What if they just replace Joe Biden with the clone Joe Biden, which I think happened, looks like that.
He doesn't
And
look normal.
yeah, he doesn't look normal. So what if they have changed him and now they have a clone who is a servant to that secret government, and he's doing their bidding? So I think it's more beneficial for them not to release it, because they are at that level where they don't need money, but
Yeah.
everybody needs a power and they
So
want to
that,
control everything.
we actually talked about this because this we call it the bigger picture, and you got the B of Bitcoin in the logo, and that's because I personally think it's all connected directly and indirectly, and we already sort of mentioned Jeff Booth. If you get scarcity, monetary scarcity, you get abundance, and if you have fiat abundance, you get scarcity everywhere and suffering and misery. And like you say, they got the money, right? They already control the world basically through the money. I mean, you got that famous Kissinger quote, which I'll kind of pull up here. But maybe you want to say something while I'm putting it up.
No, again, I think the lust for power is everything. And when you control everything, money means nothing. You get everything you need, right? More than what you need. So it's all about the power. It's, Alexander the Great, he had all the money in the world and he was still going to conquer more. Why? He just want power, not the money. He already had enough, more than enough for 1,000 years.
Yeah, here's the quote.
Yeah.
Who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. And who controls the money can control the world. And I would say who control the money printer can control the world, because that would be a little bit more exact.
Yeah.
But recently a while ago, I sort of came to the conclusion that you could sort of twist this quote from Kissinger, which actually from WikiLeaks, I think, who brought it out, that if you can centralize food, you control the people, and if you can centralize energy, you can control whole continents, and if you do both of those things, you can get rid of money altogether. Through CBDCs, right? Because CBDCs are actually not money, right? You know that, I know that, but it's actually sort of like a point system that you can give people based on their behavior, or perhaps even what they're thinking, right? If you can read.
But fiat is also not a money. It's just like printer printing notes. It's not like real money like gold, which is
True.
like real wealth. There is like an actual existence. So to me, fiat is also like a bullshit system which was created to suppress humanity, like to make people poor, like poorer. Like they were already poor and then just add into their misery. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
understand.
basically subtracting resources and energy
Yeah,
from people through
yeah,
the fiat system,
yeah,
extracting and manipulating and controlling
yeah.
the things around them. But even so, even though agree that fiat, credit, currencies are actually not really money, as gold used to be real money,
Hmm.
but fiat is still 100,000 times better than CBDC.
I agree. Yeah,
Because that's basically because fiat still resembles money, right? You can sort of
yeah,
put it under your bed, and of course, if you start really printing like they're doing right now, and you can sort of keep the shell game going for quite a bit, right? And
yeah.
eventually you have to monetize the debt, and eventually you monetize the entire economy, and it slowly dies until it collapses. By that point, right, people are awake to the fact what fiat really is and how it works, and then you lose control of the situation, and that's what they don't want, right? They don't want to lose control.
Hmm.
So but until that, so they don't want to go there if they don't have to go there, right? If they could run the world ad infinitum on fiat, they would. But every fiat system has a shelf date, right? Eventually, you get to that hockey stick curve, one way or the other, and you can speed it up or you can slow it down, but you always get to the hockey stick at the end of it. But until you get there, fiat is sort of a way to save money. Even it's not a very good way to save money, but you can save money and you have freedom to move around and influence people through money and get things done through money. They don't have like exact control over those. It's like a hammer. It's not a very exact instrument that they have. They can sort of move people about in groups, in large groups, but they cannot really pinpoint individuals and target behavior, or even if they can read minds, what you think at some point. Or read your vitals and connect CBDCs to your vital functions.
Speaking of that, Elon Musk is now testing more with Neuralink. He already tested it in one human, and now I think he posted an ad and he want more people to join. I was like, okay, that's like really bad. And then it can tie it up to everything with CBDC chip in your brain. Like, okay, that's a bad idea. That's why the new piece it's still available. Like the NFT piece is pinned to Tesla, and I think this is how go down.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm pulling it up right now for the people who have not, I think everybody knows by now, but Elon Musk says Neuralink has implanted its first brain chip in a human. Do you know which person it was?
This was my first question. Like, who is stupid enough to volunteer for that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. But anyway, but the point is, as also with AI, right? The story goes with AI. If you can, if you get on the bandwagon and you use AI, you can do the work of like 100 other people as one person, or maybe even 1,000 people as one person. So you'll leave the competition in the dust if you get on the AI bandwagon first. Which will lead, of course, to a lot of other people losing their jobs and their income and either becoming fully dependent on government handouts or,
That's why they want CBDC, right? No, but that's why they want CBDC. Like, so they get rid of everything and you're completely dependent, and the only way to survive is to worship those people, like government. And then the more you worship, the more points you're gonna get.
Yeah, because that's a good term, by the way, worship points. I like that. Yeah, because basically you will be getting credit not based on what you can do or what you can create, because all that stuff will be taken out of your hands. It will be granted to you on the basis of how devoted you are to the supreme leaders and their mission, in the things that you say and in the worshipping attitude that you take. Like, I mean, that's basically why you will get paid, right? Because they don't need you for anything else, really. I mean,
you will have only two choices: either worship or die.
Yeah, so I always think, and it's actually something that I'm writing at the moment, but I think you will get a 3 tiers society, right? So you got the top tier, so probably a 4 tier society. You got the top, the absolute top, which is a group of unelected, unaccountable, non-transparent people who sort of control the world. Let's call them the deep state, and they get access to everything at all times, and they don't have to pay for anything. They will just be recognized as those kind of people, and they, all the doors open, and all their wishes will be granted. So there will be sort of like gods on earth. And then the second tier will be the people, the free people, the real free people, which will be a small group who manage to get out of their control, or who are sort of granted a level of freedom, which will actually have access to real money, like Bitcoin. And so money is freedom. It gives you the opportunity to choose your actions, to leave or to get things done. And then you got the tier below that. It's the second tier or the third tier, depending on how you count. Those will be sort of the luxury slaves, which will be subject to CBDC system, which gives them a sense of autonomy or a sense of freedom, where they can sort of do what they want, but in fact there's total control over everything.
Call them a priest class.
Yeah,
they are the priest of the CBDC.
Yeah, but also I think victims, and then below that class, I think is sort of a slave group, which is totally
worshippers.
Worshippers. But I think they that's the group of people that they can do with as they please. They can harvest them for organs, or they can kill them at random, or for sport, Hunger Games, or shoot them out into space for colonies. I don't know, or experiment with them. I think that group is sort of that's where the CBDCs become sort of just a tracking and control system, without the farce of being money. And then you got another group which lives outside of the city walls, and that's
resistance.
Mad Max.
Resistance, yeah. No, I think if they can send humans to different planet, that will be ideal, because that's an actual escape. Then you can actually escape the system if you have a technology to go from one planet to another or beyond. Because like some people can steal the spaceship and then they can go out forever. So
well,
yeah,
I think I said it before, right? I always tell my nieces and nephews that they should, become space cowboys. They should do two things. They have to learn programming. It will be essential. I think that it will not be called programming. I think it will be like a language. I think that's why Elon Musk called his children those crazy names.
Yeah.
Because I think people will actually be talking in programming language at some point. But the second thing is become a space cowboy or space girl, right? Get off the planet as fast as possible.
Exactly.
And as far as possible, right? Because things will get really ugly.
And learn the basic code, like the basic, and just have the basic understanding of original coding, because in the future coding will be replaced with AI. That's, I think, the first thing will be replaced by AI, which is already, you can see it's happening. A computer can code, and you just need a, a person who can tell AI what to write, and AI will write to you. So don't go into that programming, but just go into the programming where you build a natural language, where people are teaching AI how to act and how to create AI. Because the war will come between humans and AIs, and there your guns will not work. You need programmers to fight. That will be the real battle. You need to, in order to fight AI, you need to have good programmers in your system.
I totally agree, and I think AI will make us very lazy and complacent. And I think what you're saying is exactly right? Because AI will take the work out of your hands, and then you forget it over time how things actually operate and work. I mean, that's already happening all around us. And I think another thing that we sort of talked about with the AI race, that people are sort of competing to jump on the AI bandwagon, and that sort of leaves others in the dust. But I think another thing that will happen with Neuralink is basically the same thing, only even worse. The first person who gets the stuff inside their head will seem like godlike, and then force other people in order to compete or stay in the race to do it too, right? In order to, So
I think people will adopt that really fast, because you see Apple glasses, everybody's gone crazy for that. I was like, yeah, that's stupid. Anyway, I think when they will launch it, there you will see long lines of people who want that kind of shit. And my recommendation is don't go for it, because if you have a chip in your brain, it's literally a mind control. Anybody, it's not even the cabal is going to control you. It's like other hackers who want you to do something. They can tap into your brain and make you do stuff which you can't remember. So stay away from, it's my opinion, that try to stay away from that kind of shit.
Well, and I think it's really nice that we got at this point in this episode, because I think, and that has been sort of my point throughout the years that I've been doing Bitcoin Live, is like you've got a giant revolution going on like all fronts. Like it's cultural, it is religious, it is technological, it's monetary, it's financial, it's scientific, it's the whole gamut. Like it's all happening at the same time, and you're basically got two choices, right? Or at least two extremes.
Yeah.
And at one point is sort of the primordial code, where we are starting to find out that everything is already connected and that you can just plug into reality, and that reality is much bigger than we ever thought it was, right? Because we were living in a kind of a dream that we told ourselves, but we are actually capable of much, much more than we ever thought we were capable of. And that is a matrix or internet, a natural internet that we can sort of tap into, which could lead to abundance. And I think it's sort of Bitcoin is on that side of the equation, and gold and sound money. And then on the other side is us plugging into the real matrix from the movie voluntarily and losing everything and just giving up and losing our autonomy and identity and sense of self and our capabilities, our natural capabilities.
Both are true. And this is what, like, I think reincarnation is just keeping your soul recycled in the same system, and you're like literally hooked. You live one life, you die, and you come back again. It's like, I don't think reincarnation is a beautiful thing. I think it's a prison. Your soul is trapped in this world.
Yeah.
So I have this idea, like, when you die, and if you find yourself in a tunnel and you see a light at the end of the tunnel, don't go in the light, go the other way, because your natural instinct is to go towards the light, like a bug. Bugs go towards the bug zappers.
Uh-huh.
There is a there is a light, it's called bug zapper, right? And the bugs always go in that, and then they got zapped.
It's like a coming train.
yeah, don't go in that, like, go other way, you will find something more. Because what I think, the tunnel is like the vagina, and the lights are the hospital lights, and you just born. You need to fucking get out and go to the other side, if for a soul.
And then that's so I got two more things. We can go a little bit over time because it's a lot of fun. So first of all, this sort of taps into what you're saying here, because and this will also blow people's mind, right? But look at this. This is a research paper about extraterrestrial life in space, plasmas in the thermosphere, UAP, pre-life, fourth state of matter. So plasmas, for people who don't know what we're talking about, are up to a kilometer in size, behaving similarly to multicellular organisms, have been filmed on 10 separate NASA space shuttle missions over 200 miles above Earth within the thermosphere. These self-illuminated plasmas are attracted to and many feed on electromagnetic radiation. They have different morphologies: cone, cloud, donut, spherical, cylindrical, and have been filmed flying towards and descending into thunderstorms, congregating by the hundreds and interacting with satellites, generating electromagnetic activity, approaching the space shuttles. Computerized analysis of flight path trajectories documents these plasmas travel at different velocities from different directions and change their angle and trajectory, making 45, 90, and 180 degree shifts and follow each other. They have been filmed accelerating, slowing down, stopping, congregating, engaging in hunter-predatory behavior, and intersecting plasmas, leaving a plasma dust trail in their wake, etc., etc. Plasmas constitute a fourth state of matter, are attracted to electromagnetic activity, and when observed in the lower atmosphere, likely account for many of the UFO sightings over the centuries. And one more thing, plasmas are not biological, but may represent a form of pre-life that via the incorporation of elements common in space could result in the synthesis of RNA. And that document was basically, it's a scientific document. There's a lot of people who wrote on it. It's not very well known, but Ross Goldard put it forward. And that reminded me of this book that I got. And I'm going to switch off my background now to show the book. This is a book by Robert Temple. And Robert Temple wrote a really big library of interesting books. The Serious Mystery is a really good one and famous, but he also did Egyptian Dawn. But this one is also super cool, and it's A New Science of Heaven. And the footnotes is like, I think he got 100 pages of footnotes here. But this is basically a book about those plasmas. And I'm going to read a little bit also from the book.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you know that the Earth-Moon system is really a two-cloud system with an Earth and a Moon thrown in? And that there are two giant invisible clouds of plasma, non-atomic matter, between the Earth and the Moon? Together, they are 9 times the size of the Earth. They emit no light and are difficult to detect. They constitute a special type of cold plasma, a type of plasma which could even be capable of evolving intelligence by what one of the world's leading plasma scientists call self-organization. Although non-biological, they may be very much alive and more intelligent than we are, etc., etc. It's a really cool book, which I recommend everybody to buy and start reading. I haven't read the whole thing because of Bitcoin Live. I'm too busy.
No, I never heard of this, and I need to do more research about these plasma beings because that's very interesting to me. I'm actually surprised. So I'm going to do more research and then we will talk in more detail because this is something new to me and very interesting, like very
Yeah,
intriguing.
and the sort of reason that I came up with it is basically what you say is, we might actually be plasma creatures caught in a physical body, right? So
Yeah,
that's sort of the idea of the brain being an antenna, and also
yeah,
this ether that's out there that we're tapping into, right?
yeah.
How is that connected to these plasma?
Souls, yeah. Yeah, actually, it makes sense like souls, right? Like you die,
Yeah,
your soul is just is like staying somewhere.
yeah, yeah. So
That could account for a lot of aberrations like ghost, poltergeist, and stuff.
yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely. So yeah. So we got so much. This the fun thing with UAPs and UFOs. You go from one rabbit hole into the next, and it's somehow it's all connected. Like if you think the Bitcoin rabbit hole is deep, wait
Yeah.
till you get wait till you get here, and then the two things are probably also connected.
Yeah.
But what did I want to say? Oh yeah. So next time we're also going to talk about. We're going to talk about probably also reincarnation. So
Hmm.
the surviving death documentary that we already mentioned, and we're also going to talk about psychedelics, as you already sort of talked about. But we're going to talk about that also more in depth, but also about those psi abilities, so like remote viewing and telekinesis and that kind of thing. Because a funny thing with Elon Musk, he said the first feature of Neuralink will be telekinesis.
Hmm.
And so they're sort of mimicking or sort of replacing perhaps our sort of natural abilities with artificial
Yeah.
replications of those very same abilities, only through electromagnetic waves instead of the scalar waves that Nikola Tesla probably already discovered and then was suppressed, and then that went into the dark projects, because
But
let's be real, like those UFOs or UAPs are not flying around on diesel,
yeah,
right?
exactly. No, but did he say telekinesis or telepathy? Because I think the first feature
Yeah,
will
maybe
be a telepathy.
sorry, it
Yeah.
could be yeah, you're probably right.
Because it's much easier to transmit brain waves from one brain to another to read other people's mind than moving object. I think it's telepathy, and then from
Well,
there,
you also got this really cool book from a scientist, Miguel. I forgot his last name. Miguel something, who wrote Beyond Science. I think it's called. I got it
Mhm.
here. Wait 1 second. I'll get it. Yeah, I got it here. Right, I'm gonna read. This is actually a pretty old book, but also definitely worth reading. It's very technical, by the way. It's like a real science book. It's called Beyond Boundaries, and the author is Miguel Nicolelis, and I think he's Mexican. But what he's one of those groundbreaking brain-machine interface researchers, where he was able with mice to send the behavior learned from one mice to another mice via the internet. So basically, what you see in the Matrix with Neo downloading Kung Fu, only a little bit more basic probably, but that you could but also right that you can sort of move things at a distance using your mind, right? Which is a lot of these prosthetics that are being created that are basically you're moving an artificial limb with your mind, right? It sounds kind of obvious, but you're basically using telekinesis, right?
Yeah. No, I think this is possible. I'm just saying it'll be crazy if you can move stuff from your head, but I think it's a little bit far away because we are in the beginning of this technology, Neuralink. It's
Yeah.
just been few years. Isn't it odd? Like in few years, Elon Musk turned from anti mind control, anti AI to the person who is building AI and making Neuralinks. It's like, is he? Did they replace him with a clone and then they are making him do this stuff?
No. My take, Elon Musk has always been the same, and I think it's the right thesis. I think Elon Musk. Now, first of all, of course, he's so powerful also thanks to the fiat system, right? A lot of this sort of the Tesla has a lot of government subsidies, and how it got started, and but basically, what I think he's doing is he's trying to cut himself off from the system and creating his own empire. I think he's trying to build and create his own empire. But in order to do that, in order to fulfill his dream and to become the Elon on Mars, which is a story in itself, he needs to have a group of people around him that protect him, right? He needs people like us, smart people who are free and independent to sort of support him in this mission, right? Because on the other side of that is the group of the WEF and all those crazy people who basically want you to bow down, right, to their
But it'll be very easy for him if he can implant the chimp and make sure everybody worship him. It'll be easy. It's like a reincarnation of Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is trying to control the world.
Well, I think he does have a more libertarian mindset. Like I think he does have a more human-oriented mindset.
I don't trust his mind views because he always changes. Like I'm telling you, the reason found about Elon Musk back in the day is not because he became rich or anything. It's because he was anti AI, and I am always studying this subject, and I'm a computer engineer, so I have a lot of understanding, and I know that AI is the demise of humanity. And then I liked him very much when he was speaking against AI and the danger of it. Very recently, until 2018 or 19, and then suddenly he launched his own bots, making his own AI. It's like, okay, why the sudden change? And his views changes all the time. So I don't believe anything what he says because he's not that trustworthy. I'm not saying he's the evil person, but his views, don't take his words, where he will change his views.
No, I think he's a little bit like CC from Binance, right? So I wouldn't trust CC. I'm not that big a fan of Binance. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today in crypto without Binance, and if they would disappear, it would be a big problem.
Yeah.
But calling them a good player or a trustworthy actor in the space would be
yeah, it's not true.
But like Elon Musk, he's trying to be independent, right? He wants to fight for his independence and to create his own empire. So Elon Musk also wants mind control, and he also wants. He was also, because he was fighting against the vaccines and about all that stuff in the during COVID, and thank God, because otherwise we would have had a real problem. But later on, he also said, like, but I'm not against mRNA.
Yeah. And no, he recently said like carbon tax is the only solution to environmental problem. I was like, why sudden change? Because he had a very different like stance on that, and now he just tweeted that. It's like, this is what freaks me out, that his views are changeable, and then it's weird. Like, don't trust his word. Just
I think it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Yeah.
So they're trying to create their own empire, but they're under attack. They don't want to kneel, and they're in a fight, and they're basically using us in order to fight for them. And
yeah.
So I think that's a good point to end the show. I think I want to end with one more clip, and then I think we covered also all the clips.
Awesome.
That's this one. It's basically about, some people might think like, what the hell are you guys talking about? But you also have like scalar weapons. And this is a clip, an old clip from 1985. And this is a retired Lieutenant Colonel.
Colonel.
And he's basically talking about these scalar weapons that might already have existed a way long time ago.
Is among a small group of scientists and engineers who believe that the Soviets have perfected Tesla's ideas and are developing radio frequency weapons on a scale unimagined in this country.
There have been a series of tests of these kinds of weapons, apparently, for a number of years. For example, airliners from Iran, before the fall of the Shah, saw deep within the Soviet Union very large glowing spherical balls of light, which started out small and then expanded to very large size, which are apparently these kinds of weapons for use in an anti-ballistic missile defense role.
Bearden believes that these satellite photographs are of mysterious non-nuclear explosions near an uninhabited island in the East Siberian Sea, and that they are discharges from an RF weapon that uses intersecting energy beams called scalars.
In doing so, you can create, for example, either an electromagnetic explosion at a distance, or you can create an electromagnetic implosion at a distance, the extraction of energy from a distant point. This would look like a cold explosion, so to speak. And I believe the thing on April the 9th, 1984, off the coast of Japan, that involved several 747 jet airliners, I believe that incident was a test of a cold explosion weapons. At least it met all the characteristics.
Pilot Doug Happ was in one of the 5 airline crews that saw an incredibly large cloud rising from the moonlit overcast below.
It looked like a plate coming up through an overcast, but it just kept expanding. And as it got higher, it was apparent that you could see right through the middle of it, so it looked like a big smoke ring.
Yeah. So we started with Oppenheimer warning us for the new technology that was being developed, and maybe he also was talking about stuff that he couldn't talk about that was happening behind the scenes that he might actually have been involved in early on. And we end with this clip where they talk about scalar weapon systems that are based on scalar physics and might be connected to plasma. I have no idea. Maybe the plasma is the ether. I'm not a scientist. I'm not I didn't study physics, or that's not my party. But I do invite everybody who has such a mindset to follow Ashton Forbes, because he's putting out a ton of excellent content out there. And he's done a lot of detailed, meticulous research, follow-up research, and he's on it like a hawk. Dive into these topics and tell us what you think. And we live in very exciting times, right?
Yeah,
very exciting.
very exciting. Because
yeah, maybe a little bit too exciting sometimes. But
Yeah.
we do this for fun, but also because we believe it's very important to get this information out there and to get as many people involved with it. And also because personally, I think it also touches upon Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and what is happening with CBDCs and all that kind of stuff. I believe it's all connected, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think it's connected. I think there is a balance, right? There is some connection for sure. There is like
Yeah.
no denying it.
But it's all speculation, and always do your own research, as we say in
Yeah.
crypto. And yeah, love to hear
Don't
what you
trust
say.
our word, or don't trust anyone's word. Do your own research.
That's true. That's true. So this is just information. Check the links down below in the YouTube video. You can do follow-up research, follow Ashton Forbes, follow people like Richard Dolan, Weaponized. You got so many good stuff out there at the moment. Google anything and you'll find a ton. But follow us because we link everything down below in our YouTube video. Okay, with that,
All
we're
right.
coming at the end of the series. Or, sorry, series.
Not series, the episode.
So take care and wish you all the best.
Bye.